Hi and welcome back to Cheeky Crypto. Today guys, we're going to be jumping down into the world of Harmony 1, taking a look at the recent price action, what I think is likely to happen next, and all that kind of wonderful stuff here. As I get into the video, if you find it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new to the channel, then why not go ahead and subscribe. Just tap the bell, select all the notifications, and in doing so, you will be kept up to date with absolutely everything that we do here at Cheeky Crypto. And if you haven't joined us in Discord, guys, you're missing a trick. Check it out, linked in the description down below. It's a fantastic community talking crypto 24/7. It's completely free, and it's the first place we go to notify you of everything that's going on in the crypto space. So why not stay ahead of the game by joining us down in Discord? Let's actually take a look at this analysis then on Harmony 1. We are paired up with USDT on the daily chart, and Binance is the data source. Now I'm going to stay on the daily chart here for the majority of this video. I don't think I need to go down any lower, but we'll see how we kind of get on and whether or not any rabbit holes need to. I really wanted to kind of scrutinize the movement to the downside so we can kind of get an understanding as to whether or not we should be confident that the bottom is in here at 0.00936, or whether or not we actually had to come down a bit more. Now, I was originally looking at this as a 335 corrective structure, and we were looking at it thinking, okay, well, we might be kind of done, right? We kind of had this 1, 2, kind of 3, 4, and 5 kind of structure. And well, the obvious problem here is that I was actually scrutinizing the internal wave counts, and I don't think this actually fits very well at all. And actually it could be a series of corrective structures of zigzags actually being pulled together. So some double zigzags, some triple zigzags, and essentially where we are right now, it also has very similar structures. So it's quite interesting to kind of see that we kind of fell down in this very impulsive way, but it doesn't really meet the requirements of the impulsive structure, which would be 5, 3, 5, 3, 5, right? And as we kind of think about that, how do we place the 5 waves in here? We actually only have, a couple of waves, right? And so it doesn't really make a lot of sense. So it could be overly complicated to kind of go down into that kind of level of thinking, but I'm going to give it a go anyway, just to kind of see how these things play out, right? And today we can kind of see we have these kind of 3-wave structures. I'm going to skip the ones going up just so we can focus in on the ones coming down here. This one here actually looks like we do have this kind of move right inside here. And we kind of have this ABC structure there. So we kind of see it's a double zigzag in itself. But I think we also then end in one just over here. And we have this kind of diagonals incorporated, and I think we end up with this. And essentially this here is a WXYXZ, a triple zigzag pattern right inside here like that. And it's very, very interesting because that actually lines us up quite nicely for thinking that this is a really good place for reversal. And by looking at it from a double zigzag standpoint, and we could only ever have a maximum of 3 of these in a row, you can't have a 4th one, so we can't continue going down in these zigzag patterns. So that's a positive. Now up here we also have a potential pattern coming in that might actually mean that we end up with one other scenario that could be in play, which is a triple zigzag leading us into maybe a double zigzag, or something to that effect. And that would actually look more like this. If I remove this first ABC, we'd actually have to go in here and add in another WXYZ, right? So W, X, Y, X, and Z, or something to that effect. Actually, that's a really bad fitting movement in there. Actually, I'll probably mark this up as a WXY, W, X, and Y, like this, where we actually can then see a zigzag down into a zigzag over here. So a double zigzag, sorry, rather than a triple zigzag. So a double zigzag into a double zigzag, or as I marked it here, zigzag into zigzag. So we end up with this WXY, ABC, ABC kind of structure. It's an odd one. It definitely doesn't fit impulsive. It doesn't really fit the perfect kind of way of looking at a triple zigzag or anything like that. But there's definitely something in play here with this. And the reason why this is important, it does mean that this low point down here at 0.00936 is an interesting point for thinking of reversal. It doesn't necessarily mean we can't go down, because all of this is just corrective patterns. It does mean, however, that maybe we actually do have to do you kind of see what happens next in terms of structure. Now this is very impulsive up, right? You can kind of see this here. It's not really driven from demand though. It is driven from the DXY. If I come up here with the stochastic, you can see we're overbought on the daily like everything else. The weekly is almost up in the overbought. So we are concerned about those kind of things. But on the smaller time frames, if we come down into these kind of hourly, it's not too bad. It's oversold. 4 hourly, If it will load up. It's got a lot to think about right here. It's lots of calculations. We'll see if it will load. There we go. It's heading down into the oversold area. The 8 hours heading down. The 12 hours overbought. The 16 is overbought. The 20 is overbought. The daily is overbought, right? So we know that from the stochastic RSI, there's definitely going to be some smaller movements upwards, but we could actually be reaching, you know, a point of thinking about retracement. Now, that retracement doesn't mean coming straight back down, but it could just mean that we actually have a 50% retracement or so before going back up again. You can see the 200 EMA here is quite a bit of distance, so we've got a while before we think about testing that on this daily chart, in my opinion. So, you know, we're looking for a reset on the kind of large timeframes. Doesn't have to be a new lower low though, but we'll keep it open to say that it's possible, but, you know, it doesn't have to be based on these structures. So for the most part, Harmony One may have actually bottomed out. You know, other coins may not have, but Harmony One possibly. And I say possibly because we don't necessarily know what the future holds here, and we don't have a good trend structure appearing yet. We're still below the 200 EMA as well, so we are a little bit concerned about those things. On the weekly time frame, while we're here, we can check to see. No, we don't have a 200 EMA because it's not that much data. Fair enough. So let's go ahead and check out a couple of other things. Right, we want to check the volume profiles, so we can see, you know, what is going on. Our volume profile at the moment is down here, as you can kind of see. So with the volume profile being low, and if we take this high point just here, okay, if we continue to push up and we breach this B wave high, then we've got bearish divergence. It's not there yet. We can argue, no, everything else here is okay. So volume profiles at this point in time are decreasing, okay, across this kind of landscape, while price is also decreasing. So that's okay. There's no divergence in there and to kind of be thinking about on the daily chart anyway. But keeping an eye on that volume profile to see whether or not it's going to peak up at higher or lower, and whether or not we're going to get bullish divergence or bearish divergence in here is going to be quite an interesting thing to keep an eye on. From a relative strength index, we are incredibly high. So here we do actually have bearish divergence. So again, just like Bitcoin, we can see that we're going up into lower highs. Whilst we're doing those lower highs, what are we seeing? We're seeing a higher high on the relative strength index, and this is bearish. So obviously just bear in mind that we are likely to pull back down. Doesn't necessarily mean new lower lows. It does mean that we should be thinking about the potential of a move to the downside at some point soon. Not necessarily just yet, but some point soon. We've moved up 109%. It's pretty good. It's not the best out there, but it's definitely doing good. We've seen some positive news as well when it comes to the hack on Harmony and some of the funds being recovered, which is fantastic to see all that kind of stuff actually, you know, coming out in the space as well. So in terms of Harmony One, I'm going to leave it out there as it's a potential bottom has occurred here. Too soon to be 100% perfectly clear on that, but it does look like a pretty interesting move with the lead up into this low, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is over and done with. We can, of course, take this Z wave down into a double zigzag if we need it, triple zigzag, sorry, if we needed to. So we want to be a little bit aware of that. At the moment, it's not overly the best kind of structure, so we'll keep it in mind. But for now, looking pretty good, and I'm pretty happy with it. But I do think we are going to be up against resistance. We can see that right up in this area here already. So kind of pushing around the 2.2 is going to be difficult if we do even push that high. But overall, I'm looking for corrections down. We've got the bearish divergence. I'm looking for, you know, a decent amount, 50 or so percent to the downside here. Around 1.3 would be a nice number to kind of see. And then we'll see how that structure forms. I don't think we're done with the upside move though. So even if we do start to see a bit of a pullback down here, I still think we have to peak up a bit more before we can really be confident about a reset back to the downside. So it'll be interesting to kind of see how it plays out. We don't know what the full contagion of what's going to happen in this space and kind of how it's all going to unfold. But you know, the data is suggesting that we want to be a little bit cautious. Just now we've kind of, you know, moved up quite a bit in the market at DXY, kind of driving a lot of the stuff behind a lot of these movements. I'm going to leave this video there though, guys. If you have found it useful and informative, smash that like button. I do appreciate that. If you're new, subscribe, join us down in Discord, guys. Until the next one, have a fantastic day.